Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Gabriela. Rupali, Arcana, Ernesto. Hopefully, I'm not massacring anyone's names. You're in the right place. If we're expecting a webinar, I've asked them to make this more of a meeting so that we can be more interactive. So I know that if you were expecting a webinar, you may not have been expecting to be on camera. But if you feel comfortable, please feel free to sort of turn on your camera and unmute and say hello. Good morning.
So it becomes more of a workshop.
Folks coming in while
Great
we
to
have
see
this.
a lot. Let's just say a lot of familiar names, a lot of new names. Hey, everyone.
Hey guys, happy Friday. You made it to Friday.
Hi, is that my eyes are not great. Is that Marnix?
Yes, this is.
Hi, good morning. Hi, Gabriela.
Good afternoon from the Netherlands.
Oh,
Ooh, nice.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, it's 8 a.m. a little after or almost 8 a.m. here today. So
Early
big
bird.
gap. Welcome. Glad to see everyone here. Thanks for being here today. Is it Chiok?
Yes.
Good morning. Hi. Hi, Heidi.
Good morning.
It's night in Singapore.
Right. Thanks for staying up with us then.
No problem.
So I'm actually going to, as we've got people rolling in, I intentionally wanted to put something out there, a question for you guys as we're waiting for everyone to arrive. So on the screen, I've just added this prompt. I know that everyone has a lot of things they could be doing, other meetings, other tasks, maybe even going to bed in some cases, and you're still here with us. You chose to be here with us today. So I'm curious, what inspired you, what motivated you to show up to a call about facilitation? And you can basically just give it a minute, think about that, and then enter your response in the chat. It'll be interesting to see what folks share with us. Good morning, everyone. Priya, Carla, Melissa. I'm not seeing everyone, but
Ilona. Hello. Welcome.
you know, I think I realized that normally I'm a participant in Zoom calls and not the host, and that's why I'm a little confused by some of the the different behaviors. I just realized, oh yeah, you're in a different role today. Good morning, everyone. A couple of folks there. Is that Rick? Rick?
Yo.
Hi. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
So I have a prompt on the screen for everyone as you're joining. You have a lot of things, probably different things you could be doing today. So you decided to join us, to join a call about facilitation. I'm curious. Oh, there's several there. Great. Curious what in particular motivated you to join a call about facilitation today?
Like a relentless weed, just enter in the chat. These guys are joining. All right.
Some great comments there. Well, I'll just jump in for a moment. I'm actually Judy Neubauer, not Judy Neubauer. I'm HFI's training operations manager, and I just wanted to say hi to everybody. Thank you so much for getting on this. This should be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. Just a couple thoughts. If you're just joining now, just to let you know, you did sign up for a webinar, and we have converted it to a meeting so it can be more interactive, more like a workshop. And you're welcome to keep your cameras on. Probably a good idea to stay muted, and unless there's an invitation for that kind of interaction, and put your comments in the comment section. And I'm going to turn this over to Abdul and JR. And just to let you know, yes, this meeting is being recorded, and I will send the recording to everybody maybe early next week so that you can have it. There are probably a lot of things on here to review. So that's my part. I'm all done. Abdul, there you go.
Thank you so much, Judy. Welcome, everyone, and happy Friday. So great to see you all joining, just trickling in like this, and some familiar faces as well from past classes that we've taught. It's also welcome to see and refreshing. So thank you for joining. A very exciting workshop for you today. It's a little bit different type of flavor than we usually deliver. And we're all about innovation, trying new things. And so looking forward to having you join us with this very exciting facilitation workshop. JR.
Yeah, so let me switch this over. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Do you want to share your screen, or should I share the screen?
I can share mine.
Yeah.
Share.
Is there a way to make it larger, like take over the screen kind of a thing?
Sorry, what's that?
Is there a way to make it, because when you're sharing right now, I don't know if it's just my view. Are you guys seeing a big view of JR's screen or small?
Oh, are you in
Yeah.
speaker view? Are you in gallery view or speaker view?
I think, do we have to change our view?
Well, so remember I said this is my first time as a host.
Yeah. Okay.
Relax,
So-
relax. You're very small now.
Yeah. So if you what view are you guys in Zoom? Are you in speaker view, gallery view? How does
It looks like gallery view.
Yeah, so switch to speaker view, and that should bring.
Let's try that. Oh, I see.
Does that help?
That's now it's me as a speaker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we need to make it you as a speaker view. Let's see, multi-speaker, immersive. What does immersive mean?
I'm sorry, everyone. This is my fault. I asked us to switch from a webinar format, which is what they typically do, and have down pat, to a meeting format because I want to have a lot of interaction today, and I wanted to be able to see all of your shiny, happy faces. And
JR, I just did this thing called Spotlight.
Perfect.
So it looks like you are now the spotlight here, which making it now everyone sees JR's screen now, right? As a big screen, right?
Awesome.
All right, cool.
It doesn't have to be perfect. It's perfect because you made it.
We were talking about that before the call.
Earlier, sorry. Yeah, no, this is part of human interaction, right? Things happen. Technology in particular, there's always some hiccup. So welcome, everyone, and thank you. As I said, I did want this to be a much more interactive session today. And so, if you were expecting to come to a webinar and sit quietly in the background, that's okay. You probably, weren't prepared to be on camera. But now that we're in a meeting, if you're comfortable, feel free to turn on your camera. It's certainly easier to interact with shiny, happy faces than with black boxes. But again, I invite you to turn on your camera. It's not mandatory. And I thank those of you who arrived a little early and gave some feedback about what motivated you to join this call today. I saw a few things in there: refreshing skills. It's important for a UX role. A few other comments like that. So absolutely, I think that we're all on the same page here. So I'm JR. Between my UX career, software development career, technical trainer career, I've basically spent my entire career at the intersection of technology and human collaboration. And I believe that I bring a rare combination of technical depth and human-centered insight to my practice. And it's my firm belief that helping people work better together is more important today than ever. And expert facilitation remains a uniquely human skill, particularly in the age of AI. The first thing I'm going to ask you guys to do is take a look down at the bottom of the Zoom screen and find the React button. You don't have to do anything with it right now, but I just, in case it's not familiar to everyone, down in the screen, there's a little heart icon that says React. If you click on it, you have a world of emojis and emoticons that you can use. And at some point, I'm going to ask you to specifically use that. But in the meantime, yes, I'm seeing some things happening there. In the meantime, if anything that I say resonates with you, you feel free to use that reaction button and let someone know, let me know. Okay. So UX and facilitation. So there's obviously, as some people noted in your comments, there's obviously an overlap in the skills between UX and facilitation. And in fact, it's probably assumed as a result that UX people will be good facilitators. But in my experience, that's not always the case, because we're not always trained. In fact, by show of hands, either physically if you're on camera or using the raise hands or the thumbs up reaction, how many of you have actually received formal training in facilitation as part of your UX career development? Yeah, I see a smattering, right? And I think that's true. Depending on how you came into UX, from where I came into UX from a software development background, we definitely didn't need facilitation skills there. And so if you came in through boot camps, they probably didn't get into some of these soft skills. Even a lot of the university programs don't cover this particular skill. And so many of us in UX have had to sort of learn it on the fly as we go, just dive in and figure it out, right? Maybe we watched some videos, read some books, joined some newsletters. And that's great, because strong facilitation skills will improve your UX work. But those same skills can help with your career advancement overall as well. And, why is that? Because meetings are broken. How often, again, show of hands, how often have you heard someone say, or maybe you've said or thought yourself, my calendar is so full of meetings, I don't know when I'm going to get any real work done? I'm seeing a few hands go up here and there. Right. I used to say this all the time. I hear it all the time from other people. Yeah. So, and the implication there is that meetings aren't real work. Meetings just get in the way of getting work done, right? That's certainly how a lot of people feel about them. But, how is it that most teams and most companies attempt to get work done together, right? It's holding meetings, oftentimes bad meetings that feel like a waste of time, meetings where you rehash the same things over and over, meetings where the primary outcome is to schedule another meeting, right? And so businesses, companies need people who know how to facilitate effective meetings, workshops, retreats, any kind of working session. And if in my last several roles and in doing some market research recently, I've had executives from across various industries tell me they just don't have staff or enough staff with strong facilitation skills in their organizations. So they recognize that this is a shortcoming for businesses. And if you pay attention to sources like Harvard Business Review, McKinsey, Forrester, Forbes, they all have articles out there that talk about how facilitation is an essential soft skill that can lead to higher compensation and career advancement for folks who have those skills. In fact, I recently had a conversation with someone who was telling me that she started using her facilitation skills to lead her team meetings on the job, and it got the attention of her management, who had her then start leading other teams' meetings. And soon she found herself sort of taking on more of a facilitator role for the organization, which elevated her role in the company and her salary as an associated bump there. So my intention today is to share with all of you some advanced facilitation techniques that companies desperately need, but rarely have, so that if you choose, you can also lead sessions that position you more as a strategic asset who helps drive strategy, alignment, efficiency for your organization, and hopefully, as a side byproduct, accelerate your own career growth. If that sounds good to you, then this is where I ask you to use that reaction button. Give me a thumbs up or some sign that's a good focus for today's conversation. Because if not, I've got to change a lot of things really quickly. All right, great. Awesome. I'm getting thumbs ups. All right. So next thing I want to ask of you, I'm going to ask you to think for just a minute, and I'm going to have you enter something into chat, but don't hit enter. Okay. So I'd like everyone to think about how many workshops you've either facilitated or co-facilitated or even just attended, participated in your career. Just think of a number. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just a rough number. Enter it in the chat, but don't hit enter yet. Once everyone's had a chance to think about that, let's have everyone hit enter all at once. Wow, 78, 15, 4, 100 plus, 100. Okay, so lots of numbers coming through. By the way, I'll be the first to admit, math is not my strong suit. So I'll ask a couple of you, actually 2 or 3 of you, scroll back through those numbers for me and give me what you would say is a rough average of those numbers. Just come off of mute, 2 or 3 of you, and just tell me what you think a rough average of those numbers might be. I've got 40, 30.
Some novice, some very experienced.
Yeah, there's a lot of range here from 1 to over 100, right? In fact, I thought I saw someone who had a very high number at one point. Yeah. Okay, great. So it sounds like we'll go with 30. Oh, someone said 50 plus. Okay. So we'll go with an average of 30. That's in between 25 and 40. That works for me. And so let's say, do we know how many people are on the call, Abdul?
About 40, let's see, 37.
30. So yeah. 30 by 40 roughly is what? What's the math again? It's not hard. 1,200. Thank you. Jeez, my mind just froze up for a second. I was like, math. So that's 1,200 hours of workshops on the other side of the screen. And I think it's probably safe to say that that's probably a few more hours than I've actually put in workshops individually. So I would say let's, why not take advantage of that lived experience that's on the other side of the screen here. So I think what we'll do is I'm going to give you a prompt in a moment and give you a moment to think about it. We'll have you a minute for you to think about it, so there's no rush. And then we're going to send you into breakout rooms of roughly 3 people. And I'm going to have you share your own information. So I'm going to add the prompt here. The prompt being, what is one of your best tips that you offer to other facilitators to run a great workshop? And that could be something that you recommend people do, or something you recommend they definitely don't do because you learned the hard way, right? But what's one of your best tips that you'd offer other facilitators? So I'm going to give you a minute to think about it. And then, Abdul, if you want to set everything up to run over to breakouts in a few seconds.
Absolutely.
Looks like a few more people may be sliding in here and there. All right, Abdul, let's send everyone off to breakout. and we'll see you back in 5 minutes.
One moment here.
And I'll also recommend, just to save some awkwardness, it's easier if you just say, hey, let's share in order, alphabetical order by our name as it appears on the screen. That just saves you some maneuvering.
Absolutely. All right, guys, here we go. 3, 2, 1. I put 3 to 4 per room.
Yeah, it always comes out. 3 is the best number because you start getting more of the 3 people and you start becoming, an audience versus a conversation.
Awesome.
It looks like there are a few people left here and few note takers, right? Willem and Abhinav, Carla, Monga, they're still here.
Yeah, let's see here. Someone just joined. Sapana, if you could hear us, we're just doing this exercise of sharing a facilitation tip in your group. I'm just going to add you to a group right now. There is another person here. Move this guy to... Well, I think it's good, JR, that almost everyone went into a breakout room, which is good. They have to accept, of course, to go into a breakout room. And so this is good so far. Yeah.
So maybe Monga is away from the system for a moment and didn't realize what was going on.
Let's see. Monga, we're going to send you to a great breakout room too here. Don't see her here. Monga here. Let me try adding her to this room. Monga, we're just writing one thing that, sharing one thing of a facilitation tip with our group members. And the timer is on, JR, so it's working so far.
Yay.
And it lets me see what the timer is too, which is cool. So we have about 2 minutes left.
Awesome. Yeah, and especially if there are more than 3 people, that then it's good we have at least 5 minutes on the clock. So
Yep. Oh, looks like oh, interesting. Okay, never mind. One guy got stuck with one of the note takers.
Oh no.
And the other person is HFI, not joined. So he's actually by himself in a room. Yeah. So
yeah,
it might be too late to switch him.
Or just bring him back here and he can share with us.
Yeah. Let me see here. Actually, maybe I don't want him to feel alone. He's like all lonely there. That's what I could do. Where did he go? He is over here. Okay, let me see if I can.
Abhinav said he's on a work device and they don't allow breakout rooms. I just noticed that in the chat.
Oh, okay. Abhinav. Okay. Just gonna move. 30 seconds. All right, looks like. Okay. Close now. Close all groups. So now it's gonna give them 60 seconds to come back now.
And folks are trickling back in.
Shiok, I'm so sorry you were added to a breakout room with a note taker. That's why I put you in another room a little bit later. Hope you're not too like disoriented, like where are they throwing me to this room and then another room and what's going on here, kind of a thing. You know? So,
Yeah, it feels like half the participants in meetings these days are just note takers.
yes, that's why. Yes.
And
that's
they're not
a good example.
generally, they're great at taking notes, but not good at giving tips and sharing tips, I'm afraid.
True. They'll get there, but not yet. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to massacre this, but is your name pronounced Tees? Tees?
Thijs.
Thijs. Okay. So wrong variation of I, but at least I got the first part of it correct. Okay.
Well, it's Dutch, so.
All right. Everyone's returning.
Please mute, guys, mute if you're not talking. I think there's a touchdown. Yeah.
Something exciting is happening
No
somewhere.
idea who that was.
Or he loves facilitation and he's over the moon.
Human interaction is messy. It's okay. Great. So you had a few minutes to have a conversation. I asked them to send you specifically to breakout rooms of 3, ideally. Sometimes you wind up with a few extra people here and there in room, but the main reason for that is groups of 3 are a conversation. When you start to get more than that, it becomes more like a presentation and an audience, and it tends to also make it, for people who are a little more reserved, it becomes a little more challenging to sort of open up and share with a bunch of people that you've just met. So that's the rationale behind the breakout rooms of 3, just so you know. So hopefully during that 5 minutes and the conversations you have, you maybe picked up some tips that you can use, or maybe just got validation for something that you're already doing. But chances are I've run this we've got around 40 people in this session. We've been in sessions where we had several hundred people. As you can imagine, there's just a lot of information that's out in the world that you can't Google or ask ChatGPT about, because it's in your heads, right? It's your lived experience. And so you just had an opportunity to sort of get a little bit of that from all of the other people here in this webinar. So I have another question for you. And again, we're going to just use the law of unmutation today. When I ask questions, more often than not, all you need to do to respond is to come off of mute and call it out. But my question for you is, what struck you about those conversations you just had? Or if English isn't your first language, maybe a better phrasing is, what did you notice about those conversations you just had? Feel free to unmute and speak up.
It's different if you're in person versus virtual, the suggestions.
Oh yeah, how so?
Well, I do a lot of things virtually, so I can't offer coffee and I can't remove the chairs from the room, which I thought were 2 really cool ideas.
Awesome. Very good. Great point. Yeah. And I'm glad I asked you to explain more. Yeah. Someone else?
It's a good tip from our group. Jessica told time management is very important. People come up on time, just deliver in time, and that's what they expect.
Yeah. And so what I'm hearing thus far is you're sharing information about the tips you received, but I ask a slightly different question. So, and that's great, but I'm curious, rather than asking you about the tips, I asked what struck you about the conversation itself. There's a slight distinction there in case anyone would like to chime in.
The conversation you guys had with each other.
That it is late in India now. So I think it's also very important to know, like if you're running this workshop, people work around the globe and you have to think about the time people are in.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's very good to notice. But what struck me is that we didn't know each other, and we started to share
Mhm.
because you said it.
Because I said,
Yeah, I just listened to your command, and everyone did it.
oh,
You said, "Let's do it," and everyone did it.
oh, you did it because I told you to. Share by command. Any other thoughts or takes on the conversation that you just had with three people you've probably never met before in your life?
Actually, I can share.
Sure.
Mainly, facilitation is getting everyone within the room to share knowledge and build answers from everyone from them. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's kind of a meta thought there. Yeah, absolutely. So it's I won't belabor this. If you're not comfortable speaking, I don't want to push you to be uncomfortable. But as I said, the reason I ask us to go into small groups is because oftentimes I ask you to share your personal experience, right? And I didn't say what's the most important thing or what's the best thing. I said, what's one of yours, right? So that it takes a little bit of the pressure off and makes it a little bit easier to have a conversation with someone, right? You're not suddenly in your mind going, oh my God, is mine better than theirs or anything like there's no competition. It's just, hey, here's my experience, right? And that's typically what I tend to hear when you ask someone what struck you about the conversation. Generally what people say is, oh, I just met these people and here we are sharing some personal stories, or I just met this person and they told me something that was really embarrassing that they I wouldn't have expected them to share, or that what you find is that you give people an opportunity to share something of themselves at whatever level they feel comfortable, and it all immediately starts to build human connection, right? Now, to be fair, we're UX professionals here, or former UX professionals in some case, in my case. And so we're trained in research techniques that help us to build rapport and to get people to open up with us. And so, maybe you say that would happen with UXers, but, maybe not other groups. And I'm here to actually say that this exact same thing, this giving people an opportunity to share and watching connection happen, occurs with any group of people when you give them that opportunity, give them the space and the option to share their experience in a manner and to a degree that they feel comfortable. So today I told you we were going to learn some advanced facilitation techniques. So let's very quickly review a few of the things that we have already learned. So when you joined this, did anyone notice anything that I didn't do that you might have expected at the beginning of showing up for a webinar or some sort of training or meeting? Was there something you might have expected that didn't happen? Sure, just come off mute and call it out.
We didn't have to introduce ourselves.
Right.
Exactly.
No introductions, which would be fine in a group of 5 or 10 people. Very difficult. We'd spend our whole meeting in a group if you had a large audience, right? Anything else?
No agenda.
No agenda. No setting and getting expectations necessarily for this particular meeting. Anyone ever expect to go into a meeting and someone says, hey, we're going to have an icebreaker? And anyone else cringe every time they hear someone say that? Right? I detest icebreakers. Yeah, so I detest icebreakers because oftentimes icebreakers have nothing to do with the purpose of being there. There's some awkward, odd thing that I'm supposed to share with people I don't know, or maybe even people I do know, but they're not like my close friends. They're my work colleagues, and we have a different kind of relationship, right? So it feels like forced participation when you do icebreakers, and that's kind of the enemy of connection. And someone mentioned no ground rules or no expectations, right? So instead, with this group, I sort of shared my intent with you and asked you to tell me if that was okay. And that was our setting expectations, but it was a little bit different than you might have expected. So yeah, a few things that we didn't do at the beginning of the workshop. And, depending on what type of workshop you're running, I'm not saying you shouldn't do those things. Some workshops really you need to set ground rules. Some workshops you really need to get and set expectations. And instead of small group introductions, because you have a large crowd, you might want to go around the room and have folks do introductions, right? But what we want to think about is how to reframe those things in a way that starts to build connection. And so in our case, we started with this unofficial start, like about 5 minutes before the official start time. We started welcoming people, inviting them in. I put a prompt on the screen that was really a low friction invitation to you to just start engaging from the very beginning of entering. And it made those waiting moments while we're waiting for everyone to arrive for the official start time more meaningful, right? You had something to do. You could start interacting, start engaging. And then because I knew that you were all coming from different contexts, right? You maybe had a meeting before this, you're thinking about the one after, or you're trying to finish up something in between. I wanted to make sure that we were all in the same sort of shared space together. I wanted to transform attendance into attention. So I used this context hook where I ask you, or I shared my intent, my goal, but then I used the phrase "so that," and I related it to something hopefully that you cared about, which was why learning facilitation skills or advanced facilitation skills would be helpful in your career. And then I asked for your agreement with that intent. And then instead of just jumping straight into presenter mode, the sage on the stage, and sharing my wisdom, instead I invited connection before content. I wanted to take advantage of your lived experience and have all of you share with one another, so that you're not just getting information from one person, you're getting information from several people. And then we sort of reflected on that a little bit. All of these things are ways that we start to build trust and make connections and create psychological safety. And you may be thinking, I work with serious teams. We're serious people trying to get serious work done. This is not going to go over with them. And I'm going to challenge you to rethink that a little bit. So there's a American author and global consultant, Peter Block, who said, without relatedness, no work can occur. You may be in a team of people, maybe it's people maybe it's a group of people that have been brought together for a particular project, and you have the same thing that you're working on or working towards. But trust isn't automatic just because you share the same goals, right? I don't know if anyone's ever heard of the Google research project Aristotle, where they wanted, this was done a few years back, they wanted to understand what characteristics defined their most highly productive teams. And so they went and interviewed all of these people across the organization. And what they found was that the most highly productive teams had nothing to do with skill level or years of experience or education, nothing to do with any of that. And it was all about the level of psychological safety that the members felt within their team. In other words, the trust they had with one another, their ability to show up and just be themselves within that group and work together. And so if you, like me, I hated icebreakers. I'm like, we're just going to jump right into work. That's what I used to think, right? We're going to get in and be more efficient in use of this time. Will Wise, another famous facilitator and author, said, efficiency is the enemy of connection, right? And so if you think about it, without relatedness, without connection, without relatedness, no work can occur. And psychological safety is the hallmark of highly productive teams. And efficiency is the enemy of connection, which is also the enemy of psychological safety. Then just by spending as little as 2-3 minutes at the beginning of any facilitated session or any type of meeting or working session and inviting people to share and connect in some way that is related to the purpose of the group, then you actually increase the potential productivity of that group, right? This is something that 99% of facilitators in the world do not think about or consider, right? But if you're going to help that team as a facilitator of a workshop, as a facilitator of research work, as a facilitator of a group meeting, if you're going to help get the most out of those folks in the time that you have together, then starting by building some connection improves your ability to get great outcomes. So connection is worth prioritizing. So I'm going to stop talking for a minute. I've talked long enough, and I'm going to go into a reaction commercial break here. And I'd like you, again, following the law of unmutation, give me your thoughts on this. Share what your reaction is to this whole connection before content approach is. Just feel free to unmute and speak up.
I was just going to say that this was literally one of the first topics of discussion on the very first orientation days for my MBA.
Awesome.
I was talking, they knew we were all very efficient people. And so they were stressing how important the small talk is what they called it was.
Right.
Cool.
And so that's interesting because when you think of small talk, what do you normally think that means? What's small talk typically feel like to people? How would you characterize it?
I think things that might be topical or, like if there's something big like the Super Bowl or the Oscars or whatever, that's small
Right.
talk that everybody can participate in, water cooler talk. But then I always love to invite people to, when their lives are changing, I invite them to put pictures of their dog or their new baby in the team chat. I think those things connect us a lot.
Yeah.
We all want to see the doggy.
Yeah, who can't smile at a good dog photo, right? Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that's right. I think small talk, it can mean a lot of things. It can mean whatever you want it to mean, right? But a lot of people probably tend to think of small talk as the weather or the game or the commute into work or those kinds of things. And the difference between small talk and what I'm talking about here is that one is just surface, right? It's not building connection. It's just exchanging words. You probably aren't even paying full attention to what you're hearing. How are you today? Fine. Okay. Whereas if you invite people to interact. Like my question to you was, well, you've got a lot of things going on. What made you show up for a call about facilitation? You know, everyone's answer is potentially going to be quite different, but it's also going to be very personal. Even if there are similar answers, it's going to be very personal to you. You're sharing something about yourself, and you choose at what level you want to share that. You can go deep or you can go shallow, depending on your own personality and comfort level. But being in a group of a few people who are sharing information on a personal level encourages people to build that connection, to open up and to relate more to one another. Okay. Any other thoughts? Any other positive or negative? You don't have to like the concept. I mean, what do you think about this whole connection before content thing?
I was reading the comments, and some of the comments were telling my old boss used it to call it forced fun.
Yes.
And
Right.
I was a little bit shaky because, yeah, sometimes it feels forced, but I think it's very good to have some forced fun. What's your opinion about that?
So forced fun is good. Can you tell me why? What your thoughts are about that? I mean, how do you think forced fun is helping? I'm just curious.
Yeah, forced is a little bit too forced, maybe. But invite everyone to have some fun, to have
Oh,
some
got it. Yes.
interaction, to have some playfulness, to have
Yes.
some gamification.
Yes.
I
No,
think it's very wise to have some 5 or 10 minutes space for it.
Yeah, that one word made all the difference. So the first word was forced. The second word was invite, right? And so like earlier on, I said, I invite you to do this. I didn't say you have to do this. And so, yeah, giving people the option to engage for people who are very extroverted and happy to do those kinds of things, saying, hey, we're going to do this is great. You know, no problem. But for people who are a little more reserved or more introverted, then that feels very awkward and uncomfortable. And that's again, the opposite of building connection, building trust, building relationships, right? And that's going to limit to some degree their participation. Yeah. And I'm sorry, Abdul, I just realized we're running much further behind than I intentionally planned or initially planned. Do you want to take the next 5 to 7 minutes to do your?
Yeah, sure.
You can take over the screen.
Okay. So would I just share my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. You guys see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. All right, so yeah, thanks so much, JR. I'm gonna build off what JR was talking about with what the PET facilitation technique. It stands for persuasion, emotion, trust. And some of you have already taken some classes with me where we discussed that. But I thought it would be good to cover this as a facilitation technique that's very effective for specifically getting at human decision making. And we're going to talk about this a little bit here. All right. So again, persuasion, emotion, trust, that's what PET stands for. And it's an important part for human decision making, right? So we're going to talk about the facilitation technique. Some of you may be familiar with usability tests, right? As UX professionals. And we also have what are called PET interviews, which are a type of user research method that involves very careful and advanced type of facilitation techniques. But we're going to compare and contrast how they compare with each other here, right? So with recruiting, it's really even more important than usability tests to ensure that, so to make sure that you guys are seeing my screen, okay, I guess that works anyway, either way. For usability tests, you want to make sure that for the recruiting portion, that the people that you're recruiting are very targeting of the people that have the right criteria, the people you want to have participate. You can't have people pretending to be the person, or proxy users, what they're called sometimes in usability tests. You can't do that with PET, right? So there's a human connection that's very important, just like JR was saying. That connection is even more important in pet. You can't pretend to be that person. The prototype, it has to be a high fidelity prototype that feels more real, just like when we're talking with our facilitation technique, that it needs to feel more real of a connection, not generic, but there's a human connection. Think of it, I like to think of it as like a Venn diagram, like you're sharing that experience. You have the domain experience of whatever you're talking about. You have that personal experience. There's a little bit of overlap happening, and you get to decide at what level of overlap that's going to happen, right? We also have ensuring that there's rapport and tone established very early on in your pet interview. And that is important for the human connection. You see how that's all relating? Okay. The interview tone is very empathetic, very slow, calm, non-judgmental. And you're really looking at the nonverbal communication and making sure that you're understanding and empathizing with the needs of that user. Okay. Similarly, with body language, with pet interviews, which is really interesting, that you're sitting side by side by side with them. You're not facing each other head on because, and as again, some of you who've taken this class know this, the pet classes, when you're looking face head on with someone, they can't introspect very well, and you're getting to very deep psychological matters in decision making in their heads. And you notice when you ask someone something, like to think about something or remember something, they oftentimes look away. You might even look away for a moment to try to remember, oh, where are you looking away to? You're looking away to disconnect and go into the recesses of your brain to capture that understanding, right? So similarly, we look away from them in this technique to capture that, okay? And in this interview content, you're focused on emotion and not facts. Like JR is talking about efficiency, how oftentimes we're going to have an efficient meeting. And so we're going to go in there and talk about the meeting and only the meeting and that subject matter. Here, we're talking about going outside the facts to capture the emotions that drive that decision making. Because ultimately, decision making is mostly there's an interaction between the analytical side of the brain and that limbic side, but the ultimate decision is usually done by that limbic pet side of the brain. Okay. So we're thinking feel. Feel is an important part of that emotional facilitation technique. How did that feel to you? What did that feel like? Thinking about that feeling, using that. And this is something you could use not just in work meetings, but also in your interpersonal relationships, in your life. Understanding the people around you, your family members, your kids, your friends, and in your workspace with your colleagues, your boss, and the other stakeholders that you're working with. And JR, he used a number of probes when we're going through some of the questions that he asked and some of the responses that you had. He was probing into understanding that better, right? So these are different categories of probes. And these are some examples of what they are. Like, how did it feel when you walked in the door? What did that feel like? You know, reinforcing probe. Interesting, tell me more. He said that too. How so? For example, feedback probe. You said this. I'd like to better understand what that's about. You know, can you tell me more about that? Enumeration. You spell everything out. I heard all this stuff. Did I capture everything right? Or is there more? This is really golden stuff, guys, to use as probes to dive and better understand deeply what's happening with your users in a facilitation type of way, right? Confusion. I don't quite understand this. Help me understand. You told me this, but how is that fitting together for you? Things like that. All right. Now, when you do all this in your pet interview, we come up with what's called a pet analysis, where we take drives, those things that drive users. We identify drives, those things that drive users to want to take the action you want them to take. Blocks, those things that inhibit users or dissuade them from taking the actions you as an organization want them to take. You also have feelings, drives, blocks, feelings around that. Those are, I feel incredibly disappointed when I find out that I need to feature that I cannot get. Example of a feeling. And a fact, and then you have a belief, which reads like a fact or a mental model expectation of beliefs, right? By researching and buying a car, I can be a modern person. Not necessarily. That's their perception of reality. You see? So we capture these things in our pet analysis to help ultimately drive the right design direction, right? For whatever it is, your interpersonal relationship in your company or a product, you could use this in a number of ways. Okay? JR, back to you.
All right. I was not able to follow along with what you were doing. So I think we're at the point where you're going to talk about
let's
your
do that.
certification and
Yes, absolutely. So I did mention that PET technique is one that we offer in our certification courses. And I'm just going to go over very quickly. Now, I would not, guys, don't drop off just yet. Okay. We have a little bit of other stuff past this that'll be really fun for us to do together. All right. But here are some HFI certification courses that I teach and that are really, really awesome courses to get to understand better if you haven't already. These first four here are our CUA certification courses. We have over 11,000 certified CUAs across the world. It is the largest certification of UX worldwide, right, that we have here. Foundations courses, understanding how to prepare for design, understanding design, and how to then validate that design. Okay, next slide. We also have our CXA certification courses where we have a pet architect class on how to understand how to strategize for your pet design, right? Your pet design is all these different principles or tools that we call them on how to execute awesome types of pet experiences. Okay. We also have omni-channel strategy where we think about the different channels of communication, how to make that all work. You could see all this coming together, right? If you knew all this stuff. Institutionalization, finally, of how you scale the maturity of your UX practice in your organization. Yeah. And Judy's the one to get in touch with if you want to participate and learn more about those courses. Again, it involves the pet technique and the pet design course, for example, and other really awesome and fun topics. And then we also have JR.
Yeah, so just my information on LinkedIn and my website. If you have any interest in getting in touch and connecting and asking questions or having conversations more around facilitation or facilitation training, feel free to reach out to me. But right now, one of the things that we skipped was I was going to go through I talked too long, my bad. I was going to go through some of the really core principles and things for high level facilitation skills. And one of those was logistics is always the second to last thing in a meeting. You want meetings to start strong and end stronger because of the primacy recency effect, right? So cognitive bias, we tend to remember the first things and the last things best. So we want our meetings, if we want people to enjoy them and leave them feeling that they've got something accomplished, we start strong and we end stronger. And so logistics is second to last. And the last thing that we're going to do today is reflection. Another famous, globally famous facilitator, Mark Collard, who founded Playmeo, has a variation of that Peter Block quote. He said, "Without reflection, no learning can occur." And so I'm going to switch to a slide where that asks you to think about your experience today from different perspectives. And again, we'll give you a minute to think. And again, I'll ask anyone who's willing to come off of mute and share something from your thoughts on this. So we want you to think about what you heard today in terms of I liked, I learned, I wonder, or I will, and sort of think about that for a moment. And if something strikes you for any of those, just feel free to unmute and just say, I liked X, or I wonder why.
I have a wonder. I wonder how remote testing without human-led facilitation impacts all the things we just talked about.
Remote testing in the sense of they're filling out surveys or answering questions or doing just their speak aloud without on their own. Is that what you mean?
Right. So we spent a lot of time talking about, the breaking the ice and connecting with people. And there's the other option of allowing people to do remote testing on their own, and how maybe AI or other tools play into that. And I just wonder how that impacts some people. Maybe introverted people might do better with that technique. So just kind of wondering about that, if there's been any research or published work on that.
I'm not sure, and a reason I'm not sure is because when I think and talk about facilitation, and frankly, facilitation is a broad term; it can be interpreted in a lot of ways, right? So I acknowledge that. But when I think about facilitation, generally, I'm thinking about helping groups of people work together to achieve a goal. And so, in this case, where you're having someone do remote testing, unmoderated remote testing, it's less about a facilitation question and more just about, is that test set up to be usable and get the results that you need. Certainly, though, you touched on AI, and AI was something I had planned to talk about briefly. AI can do a lot of amazing things these days. But there are lots of things that AI still can't do. AI can't read the energy of the room. It can't adapt on the fly based on the emotional reactions of people that the facilitator, that the human being is seeing. AI is advancing very rapidly, right? But there's still things that are uniquely human when it comes to facilitation that AI is not going to be able to do, at least not in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? I liked, I learned, I wonder, I will.
Yes, I like the pet perspective.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to facilitation, and of course, this pet perspective is more or less not possible if you're in large groups, but in small conversations.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that perspective. I missed some information about co-creation, how to co-create and make things together. Making gives different outcomes than just talking. And that's my experience. We talk too much, we make too less.
Interesting perspective, and you're right. I mean, the whole point of gatherings typically is that there's some outcome that's supposed to come from that, right? In the current terms of the workplace, meetings are usually supposed to come out with some sort of outcome at the end. And too often they don't. And where facilitation comes into that is facilitators bring structure and process that help that team get to that outcome without talking in circles, without rehashing the same stuff over and over. And you're right. That involves, in many cases, collaboration, right? Co-creation. Absolutely.
Guys, I do want to mention that we are at the top of the hour now. If anyone has any other questions, we can hang out a little bit more. Otherwise, Judy, is there anything else that we should say?
No, I think we're good. Thank you both very much. And I will be emailing everybody, sending the recording of this so you can catch things you may have missed. And we really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks for being present.
Yeah.
Thanks for all the tips, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.